Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about flying your drone in the city. Now everyone likes to fly their drone. One of the happiest parts of my job is being able to fly my drone. And I actually like to fly it in cities. First off, you need to make sure what you're doing is legal. You need to make sure that any airports close by, you've called the tower, or any helicopter pads, that you've also contacted them. Make sure that where you're flying is legal. One of my favorite cities to fly at is Buffalo, New York. And one of the reasons I love Buffalo is the architecture. The buildings there are just absolutely beautiful to fly. First thing, yep, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I've got my in-laws live in Canada, so I got to cross over the border and get ready to fly. Now, when I get there, I have picked out some parking lots that I want to launch my drone from, and I just work from there. There's a really cool building in Buffalo that has a Statue of Liberty on the top of it, one facing east and one facing west. There's two of them. And I remember when I saw it from the highway, and I said, man, I've got to film that. And I filmed that at sunrise. I took my drone up and I could fly there at 400 feet. And that was the max height that I fly at. And I wanted to circle the statue. And I could see my drone all but for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. So I got up there, I marked the statue, I set my rotation so I could circle around the statue, and I got a weak signal as it went around to the far side and came back around. Now let this be a warning to you that, when your drone goes behind a building, it does not read the signal from your controller. Really bad idea. For some reason, people think that the drone can read it perfectly. Only if you had it locked down by GPS on a pre-flight plan would it be able to get a signal. But from your controller from the ground, if you fly behind a solid structure, you're going to lose signal. And at that point, your drone is going to take off to whatever height or adjust itself to the height that you said for return home. And usually that'll end up in a crash. A lot of people I've seen, they've been standing somewhere and they fly under a bridge and they lose signal, and the drone goes up to its height to fly back home and smashes into the bridge and crashes into the water. It's little things like that you don't think about, but you really need to think about the structures around you and where you're flying as not to lose signal, and especially in a city, because there can be RF interference coming to you from all over. Another thing that I highly recommend is you can fly this thing in RC mode, and that's without GPS lock. So if you do lose GPS lock signal, that you can still control this drone and you can still bring it back to you. That's very important to be able to do. Be responsible when you fly and be a good pilot, because a crash, this falling out of the sky, does not float down easily. It comes down like a rock. Another thing to be aware of, or that I've mentioned in my other video about flying in cities especially, is time of day. Like I said, you'll notice that I fly early in the morning. And if you look at my video, you'll see very few cars on the road and very few people, if any at all, where I'm flying. And usually I just have police officers looking over my shoulder or homeless people following me around. And it's really never been a problem. But I do that on purpose because I want to minimize my risk to anyone on the ground. So if I'm going to fly in any kind of urban setting, even if it's a small town, I want to fly that in the morning, early in the morning, at sunrise. And then I want to get out of there, because that's the safest time to fly your drone to minimize the amount of people around you. A Sunday morning, fantastic. It's a weekend. No one wants to be up that early. That's when I suggest you go fly your drone in a big city. If it's legal and everything's cleared, go for it then. Minimize your risk. Like I said, this thing doesn't float down. It will fall like a rock. Another thing to always remember is to put those props on correctly and test them. Pull on them. When you snap them on, yank on them, make sure they're on tight. And that's important. Make sure you don't mix up your props when you put them on your drone. That can lead to disaster as well. Your drone won't even take off correctly. And fly responsibly, fly safely. I do this for stock video. And if you're interested on putting your aerials up on stock video, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I offer a white glove service for drone pilots. I actually do one for other people and that fly their drone. I put their clips up for them under Black Box Guild. I'll put those links below. And you can do it all yourself or have me do all the keywording and submitting for you. I take a percentage of each sale, but it's a really good deal. Enjoy the video. Hope these tips were helpful, and we'll talk to you or see you in the next episode of Crafted Shutter. Hey, don't forget to subscribe.